Welcome to the final episode of our Sleepaway series, everyone. This episode, we are diving into a really great discussion with our guest, Nicole Trainor, and we have some really stellar fanfic for you. But before we get to the episode, here's what to expect in our call to action.
At the end of the show, you'll hear about the latest news on the Starwhal Odyssey campaign Ryan is editing. I'm doing Christmas cards again this year, so you'll have details about that. And even a bit of news about a potential newsletter that we're thinking about putting together. You can hear this as well as our normal podcast sign off, and thanks to our patrons.
Yep, so definitely stay tuned for that, as well as the series Outtakes after the credits. For now, please enjoy the show, everybody.
Welcome back to our discussion episode. Last time we finished our session 0 for Sleepaway. This episode we'll be discussing the character creation process. We are excited to welcome back Nicole Trainor, aka Phae from the Misfits of Space podcast. Can you reintroduce yourself, Nicole, and tell us a little bit about the character you made in our last episodes?
Yes. Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm like Amelia said, I'm on the Misfits of Space podcast, where probably my most famous, I put in quotes, work, or alternately hovering in some discords. And you can summon me if you discuss enemies to lovers, because I think I pop up in all of those conversations.
You have like an extra sense for when it's happening.
People are discussing it, and it's a shame I'm not in video because I'm wearing my enemies to lovers or nothing at all t-shirt today.
Oh, yes.
And last time we were creating our Sleepaway characters, and I was gonna play Baron, the lifeguard, who has a name that is easy to yell. They're definitely set them up to be someone who's always anticipating stuff with their watchful eyes and coiled body. They are a lighthouse in the darkness for their gender, and their childhood fear was a current too fast to outswim. They have a little brother that's waiting for them when they're out of camp, and they keep working here because they want to save people. I guess I'll go through the questions you both asked me for my character.
Sure.
Okay. And then, like, for relationships with Soliloquy, the crafter, Soliloquy wants to know why Baron abandoned the craft, and I lied, and magic cannot be used to lie, so Baron's magic casting got weaker. And then it got to the point where Baron couldn't use it to save people. Mm-hmm. And from Margaret James, the song leader, what have you said to me but never to anyone else? And Baron asked Margaret James for help. I need help. I can't do it. I can't save everyone. And they've never asked anyone else for help.
Oh,
that's so good.
Yep.
Ryan, do you want to tell us about Margaret James?
Absolutely. So Margaret James Smith, you always have to say Margaret James when you're referring to her, and otherwise she'll get a little snippy with you. It's Margaret James with a hyphen.
Margaret hyphen James.
Margaret hyphen James. So Margaret James is the song leader. She's got her gentle eyes and body built for strong hugs. But she's got a little bit of an edge as a blackberry blossom gender. And she's got all sorts of childhood fears that are going to be picked upon. I'm sure I picked all of the above for that one. So I'm excited for that. But her singing voice is intimate and honest, like a promise to a friend, which really fits with the theme of our camp. We have a nice honesty and anti-lie sentiment going on with the camp that we created. And then the 2 songs that I'm able to do is a group song, No Outside Force Could Ever Interrupt, which is just fantastic. And then a song that campers always listen to in a quiet, rapt focus. So get those kids calmed down in a stressful situation would be nice. And then for the relationship questions that I was asked, so between soliloquy, how did I save soliloquy? So my singing brought her back from the brink of walking into the lake in a daze.
Oof.
Yeah. And then
The lake is bad.
The lake is very bad. Yeah. And then with Baron, I was asked, "Are you still in love with me?" And Margaret James's answer would be, "My feelings have never changed."
So good. It's so good.
Yeah. So, so good.
Oh, there's just like so many. This is always my favorite part, is like when there's a billion strings to pull on.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially heartstrings.
Oh.
Amelia, can you tell us about your character?
Sure. My character is Soliloquy. Unclear if that's her real name or not. I picked the crafter. So when I chose my name, it was a word that is not normally a name. Her look is gleaming eyes and a body built for listening. My gender is priestess femme. And my childhood fear was drowning in a lake and no one hearing, which is why Margaret James saving me with their song was important. I had to choose my craft, and I chose augury, so interpreting omens. And then 2 traits of the craft: it cannot be used to lie, and it cannot be used with modern technology. And the questions I answered for other people, for Baron, how did I save you from metaphorically drowning? And I said, soliloquy was at a point where she was like reading into everything as a sign of something. So it would rain and it would be like, what does that mean? Well, the water cycle is happening. So, they're using the yellow napkins instead of the blue ones because the yellow ones were on sale. It doesn't mean anything. And so because people aren't really aware that magic exists, it was important that, Baron used to do this and can't anymore, but was able to tell me to take a step back. And for Margaret James, the question was, what song best represents our relationship? And I picked a classic Renaissance song, El Grillo, which is about a cricket that likes to sing all the time. And when all of the birds leave, the cricket is still there, holding out, even when it's hot, even when it's hard. And sings for the love of it.
So good.
So good.
And I just realized we both saved you from drowning.
Yes.
Ooh,
so
one
good.
physically, one metaphysically.
Yeah. And
Right.
Not the way you thought either.
Ooh.
No. So, I think that the lake is going to be a big part of this. Should we talk a little bit about our camp, too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we made the summer court as our summer camp. It has a culture of honesty and economic prosperity, which we said is not necessarily this is a bunch of wealthy campers, but the camp has a good endowment. So we can do whatever we want, really. There's, money is no object. We can have the best costumes and, grounds and all of that kind of stuff.
It's important
because it's a LARP camp.
Yeah, a LARP summer camp.
Yes.
Way to
So
bury
we are
the
able
lead
to,
there. Yep.
yeah, it is a LARP-based summer camp where most people are in character and just real dramatic.
Oh, so good.
What did we add here? I'm trying to remember which things were.
So the the place where everybody sleeps and whatnot was built over some fairy houses.
Yes.
And
where the fairy houses used to be built.
Yeah, where the fairy houses used to be built. There is a hidden like kissing cove in the woods just south of the oldest tree in the forest. But that's the place where the witch was sighted at some point, which spooky. And we've also got a hill off on the eastern side of the camp that is also, it's got a field at the top of the hill that's perfect for watching the stars.
Oh, and the performing field, the performance stage is right across the field from the bunks, right by the campfire, the fire pit. Oh, and there's the path from the lake that we don't remember where it leads to anymore.
Yeah, the old path that just kind of goes off from the lake and nobody goes down there anymore.
Yeah, we don't know.
And a hill for stargazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know what happened last year. Something happened and we don't know what.
Yeah. It's been too long.
And then I realized with the witch, we have the Witch of the Week camper.
I know. I was like, does the Witch of the Week camper always hang out looking for the witch?
I betcha. Oh,
we'll find out in our fan fiction section.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff. We got 3 campers we made too.
Yes.
Toby, the overflowing butterfly. Oberon, the in-between pillbug. And Cersei, the full dragon. That says a lot about those 3 kids right there.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Toby always calls Margaret James, Margaret hyphen James.
Margaret hyphen James.
Margaret hyphen James.
The whole stories we wrote up for these campers. Like, I love everybody already.
They're amazing.
They're
love
amazing.
them.
They're so good.
Yes, I will fight the Lindworm for you.
Right? Seriously.
Well, before we can get to fanfic, we've got a few questions to go through. So let's go ahead and dive right into a segment that we are calling D20 for your thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts?
In this segment, we like to talk to our guests about their thoughts on the character creation process, how it works in this system, how it compares to other games. But first, we like to get the most cliche podcasting question out of the way. How did you first get into RPGs?
So I actually have a kind of weird way I went into them. I went to my public library when I was 10. I was out of the kids section. I went into the fantasy section for the first time. And there on the shelf were library-bound editions of the ElfQuest comics. And yeah, like this was like 1990, like comics were getting big, but like comic stores were not friendly. And I find these ElfQuest comics, which are full of like adventure and excitement and wolves and elves and romance and all this stuff. And I just got sucked in like immediately. And like, my parents started buying me the comics. My parents bought like everything they could for ElfQuest for me, which included the 1990s Chaosium role-playing game. Oh, yeah. This was like a super crunchy game though, because it's Chaosium in the 90s. And, like,
yeah,
like,
seriously.
But like the idea to be able to be like, I can create a character based in this world and play them and like, you know, make all these like rules that aren't just like, well, I said so and I didn't. So I got into it like that way, but I didn't have anyone to play with until I went to high school. And this is hilarious because I have curly hair and there was a girl in my class who used to pull my hair. And somehow it came out and her brother played like first edition D&D. So she invited me to play with her. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And we became best friends. And that's how I started role-playing, was because of ElfQuest comics and a girl who used to pull my hair in my science class.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then like I've gone through things where it's like, okay, in college I was a biochemistry major, so I had to stop for a while, and I went back and I was instead of doing D&D, I did Savage Worlds for a couple years. Hilariously with that same girl who was my best friend. We got back in touch and started playing again. And then I got pregnant and had kids, so I had to stop for a while again. And then this most recent time in like 2015, a local comic book store started hosting a different friend from high school moved to my area and was running a Tuesday game for Star Wars. And I'm like, well, I'd like to go play that. And that's where it's been since. So and now I just play. Now I am far removed from D&D and look for the most emotionally impactful games I can play. Like Sleepaway.
Oh, so good. What do you look for in a system as far as character creation goes? Like what pieces need to be there for great characters to happen, in your opinion?
So I look for systems that let me put like a character I have in mind to paper. I've started getting away from more of like the crunch and the mechanics, because this might shock y'all, but the mechanics don't matter as much for me as the role playing. Like
what?
I know.
I could have seen that coming.
So it's more like how can I make these characters relate to each other? How can they be vulnerable? How can they be imperfect? You know, I don't want to just make heroes. Like I do want to make a hero, but I want the heroes to either like have a gray side or a vulnerability, or usually they want to kiss the villain. And I want games like that. So I really like PBTA games where they, you know, like the characters, like where you tie the characters together, or like Fate, where you ask the questions like, how do our characters know each other, and how that brings into play. So I really want those inter-character relationship stuff going.
Yeah, I like the nice juicy relationships that you can get in some of these games. I know there's like a few games that do the relationship, but it feels like very surface level. But like some of these, like this game especially, my goodness, it really digs in there.
Yeah,
with just a simple question.
Yeah, like evocative questions, like, and you know, what have you told me that you've told no one else can mean so many things. Yeah, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's nice when it's a little open ended like that.
Yeah,
you know, instead of like, you know, something very like, oh, what cool thing did we do in the past, and that was like, and it'll never come up again.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just backstory. It's, you know, important plot points.
Yeah, this is something that like it can be a good thing or a bad thing, and it's gonna come up, and this is the basis, you know.
Exactly.
Ones that answers that leave more questions to be answered.
And pull on those strings.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want strings.
Right. So we like to look at character sheets and kind of discuss the intention behind them, and what it tells us about the game. These ones are a little bit different because they're kind of like more playbook style, sort of lists more than anything. So how do you think that affects like how you play the game or what you think about as you're making characters?
I think they're very well organized. Like, in a lot of systems, this isn't as open-ended as like a D&D game where you're like, I'm going to be a tiefling bard with a criminal background. These are very specific characters, like the crafter, the lifeguard, like the life, you know, it's like, you get a very good idea of what that character will play out. Like, is it emotional vulnerability? Is it the selflessness? Like each character, like the questions, the build up, even like the gender and the eyes and like what they look like all lead to this really tight character formation. I mean, there's a lot of open-endedness there. Like, I play crafters a lot, and my crafters are completely different from Amelia's crafters, but there's still like a feel to them, and you get how they fit into the world and how they interact with the world and other characters immediately. Just with the moves, like really build that. Like, okay, this is how my character is these are the roles my character is supposed to assume.
It's really nice, like especially then when you see something like choose your name and it's not just a blank field.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you've got these very on theme name choices for each of these different playbooks, and like they're so evocative of like who this character is as a person just before you even do anything else with that character.
Right. a name that is easy to yell immediately tells you so much about a character.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I really liked like having some guidance on what kind of name to give this character to, as somebody that has a really hard time with naming characters. That there were some like, you know, and that those names, really tell you something about who this person is or what kind of, you know, like a name that's not normally a name leans into the fact that this character is supposed to be kind of eccentric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, combining it like, well, is that their real name or is it a camp name? Like that's so much mystery and so good.
Yeah, exactly. And then it goes down even to like, you know, you go through the gender and then the childhood fear. That's the point that hit me, that this is not a like, you know, 7-year-old Scooby-Doo style of game, right? With some of those questions of like, I was afraid of drowning and no one hearing me to save me.
Right.
And like that's like, well, literally or metamorphically, like that's so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
There's a lot of good stuff in here.
Yeah.
But then like and the moves are very evocative of what you're going to be doing in this game too.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what you're playing towards, is you're playing towards those moves. You're trying to trigger those moves. And goodness, there's a lot of really intense things you can do in pretty much all of these categories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, they're all so emotionally impactful. Like the weak moves, it's like, okay, I need this token, but do I want to destroy a friendship?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The belonging outside of belonging system of games kind of lures you into that sort of gameplay of like, I feel like I need to make a bad choice at this point to get that token.
Yeah. And it's
definitely.
Yeah.
It's just going to lead you down that rabbit hole of like, well, I need another token.
Yeah. But they're so good moments too, though. Like, it's just it. Like, like, and it's not like the role play options for them are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it drives the story so much, and it's they're heartbreaking, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good.
But yeah, it definitely does tell a story. Like it gives you like your creative mind flowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the like very evocative descriptions of all these things. And then it like kind of rips your heart out a bit with the childhood fears. And then it gives you all these delicious nuggets to play with.
Yeah. And I love that they're open-ended enough for like interpretation in so many ways, but so evocative at the same time. Like, you know how this will hurt, and you can choose how that will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good.
Exactly. Like some of these moves I was looking at, I was like, I can already picture this scene in my head.
Right.
And like getting really intense emotions over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some in there that like, we were just like, ooh, I don't ever want to pick that one, but also I really want to pick that.
I know.
They're so good.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, how do we think character creation in Sleepaway stacks up to other systems that we've played?
It's one of my favorites. Like, I love PBTA character creation. I like the driven options where I like the pick list where it's like, okay, this gives me enough to make a choice and to be evocative. And the pick lists in Sleepaway, I think, are my favorite, because it's not just like, here's a list of names you can pick, but the descriptions of the names. And I love how everything ties together. And as you play, as you create with like the campsites and everything, where we're like, oh my gosh, all the culture of honesty. And we have all these questions about honesty and this and that. And it's just everything ties together so well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were really able to latch on to the culture of honesty in so many places.
I really loved that we were able to tie all of that together.
Yeah.
Like, it totally wasn't necessary, but it's kind of poetic how all of these things just kind of lined up, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And even stuff like where we created like the witchy character, like the witchy camper, and we're like, oh, the witch was seen in the woods. Like it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if that character is trying to figure out the name of the witch.
Right? And we can figure out what the witch is
and
doing.
maybe one time a name will be picked that is the name of that witch, and then shenanigans happen.
Right? Oh,
Yes.
there's so much you could do that. Does she become the witch then? Like, they're so good.
Why would you even introduce that as a possibility, Ryan?
Because it's fun.
It's so good though. That's the
so
best
good.
part. Oh, it's like we make the campground map, but at the same time, it's also like here are the places where it'll hurt me the most.
Right?
It's so good.
Yep.
Oh,
How does the process of character creation reinforce the feel of this game? And more importantly, because we've talked about kind of that first part of it, how does it set the expectations for what we're going to see playing this game?
oh my God. Well, it's almost immediately like you've got the double gut punch of like these emotionally vulnerable questions and like moves and stuff, with the same time reminding you of the horror. Like right away, it's like, okay, why did I fall in love with you? Is a question, but you also have a childhood fear of being flayed by wolves. Like, and it's right there. Like it's all the, like, like, oh, and here's like your strong moves are what you're best at, but your weak moves are like the opposite of what you like, and your fears. And it's like you lean into that. So it's so good for driving the, like the emotional vulnerability, the explorations of who you are, discovering what your character is, like these found family dynamics, like protecting the kids, like the campers are so important. But also like there's still like that horror that's out there. Like we got to protect the campers from the lindworm, from the wolves, from the bone parade, from the strangeness. And there's these little reminders of it.
Yeah. And I do like how, like, I came out of character creation. I have no idea what this lindworm is.
No.
And like, I think that it's supposed to be that way, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it does set expectations of I'm afraid of some of the things that we'll be able to encounter. And then there's this existential lindworm that no idea what it's capable of. And that kind of is what's supposed to be happening in this game.
Right. And I like the way for the lindworm, like the lindworm acts, but it's critical. You never roleplay as the lindworm. You just draw cards and interpret what the lindworm does. There's a table and like there's some horrible stuff that can happen, but it's like nobody makes decisions for the lindworm. The lindworm acts and we interpret what it does, which adds to that
cards.
whole, and it adds to that feel too. Like there's no, like it's an unknowable thing. And this is just the lindworm is acting and we decide, I'll read an example. Let me go to the page. Because they, like the hearts, you get the 10 of hearts, you get found family, carrying connection, hold tight to what you care about, compared to like the 8 of diamonds, sudden pain, sharp unease, coyotes howling in the darkness. So we draw a card for the lindworm and we have to think about what that means. How does that act? How does that reflect in play? But we don't decide what the lindworm does. The lindworm acts and we do it.
It's almost like the lindworm is the unseen GM.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah.
And the fact that you start the game by inviting the lindworm to play with you.
Yeah.
And then you wait 30 seconds before you even play the game. That's chilling.
That sets a tone. So it's like there's all this stuff and it's just, and you wait that 30 seconds of silence for the lindworm.
It's got to be like the longest 30 seconds.
Oh my God. I'm like thinking about it right now.
Can you imagine playing this game at a summer camp?
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
In the dark.
No.
Right? You have like a lantern and a fire crackling.
You got a lantern, you got enough light to see, but you're playing it in the empty bunk And outside, out all the windows, you can see outside, but it's pitch dark, like in the middle of nowhere, pitch dark, right?
You have the stars at best.
You got the stars at best, yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah,
All those
that
night
would be
That's like
noises.
some 10 candles nonsense.
Yeah.
It's the Indianapolis murder basement Gen Con experience right
Oh
there.
my gosh.
Oh.
Yeah. That was so scary.
Oh. But I feel like the Sleepaway is not a game I want to play with just anybody though. Like this is intense and it's super like emotional, and I want to be able to. I feel safe with people when I play this. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I can easily see this going off the rails with the wrong group, but like with the right group, with the right synergy. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Get you into all those like visceral feelings.
Yeah. Because as you play, like if you play in person, like there's stuff like there's like the rituals you do. It's like, okay, burn this, rip this card with your teeth is like a response to like a Lindworm move. Cut these threads you have tied together stuff. Like it builds this sense of like foreboding and danger and hurry. We have to save what we can. But also like physically ripping a card with your teeth is just, oh my God.
Right.
Oh, it's so good.
Seriously. So just like, there's just so much here that it's like, I want that.
Right.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
Oh, I also want that.
What do you think is one of the biggest flaws of character creation in this system? And inversely, what's your favorite part?
So this might be me, like, I think that this is, for the game that it is, this is a perfect character creation. But it's a very specific game. Like this won't work if you just want to have, I just want to have an adventure, or tell a silly story, whatever. It's a very specific sort of game to play. Like we've said, like you're those emotionally vulnerable, those queer camp characters fighting to save campers from the Lindworm. Like this is very specifically designed to tell that story. So if you're going to be like, well, I want a silly, fluffy thing, if it won't work for anything else.
Yeah.
But for what it is, it's so good. Like it
really does hit a lot of points.
Yeah. Like it's perfectly designed to be what it is. And it's not open-ended that you can't, like you could probably like do a hack of it and design a game based off of it or whatever, but it's not like everybody wants to shove D&D into everything. You cannot do that with Sleepaway.
No.
And I think that's perfect. I think it is exactly what I want it to be.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I think the only complaint I have is there needs to be more counselors.
That would be a bigger...
I want more fun things to play. So like on like repeat plays, I want more playbooks.
So there is stuff for that. There is the Uncanny expansion. There are a couple books on Itch. And then there's options like for strange characters, because like this is a game where it's highly probable your character might die. You can come back as a strangeness character or as a different character. One of my favorites is the Moth Maiden, where you have died and you come back and you have half your abilities, but you don't remember who you were. And like, why are you here? So there is still that with it. So yeah, there are more. There is more out there.
Amazing. Like, this is great, but I want more. And there is more. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I have the Uncanny expansion.
Very cool.
Okay. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Are we ready?
I've been bracing myself for 2 hours now.
I know. I've been trying not to like do too much ahead of time as we're like talking about this. I'm trying to save it. Let's discuss how this plays out. What is our fanfic?
Oh gosh, there's so much we can do.
There's so much.
I know. It's like, I don't even know where to start
right?
with what we're talking about.
Right? Like it's just...
I think obviously something has to happen with Witch of the Week and this witch that was spotted in the Kissing Grove.
100%. I think our Witch of the Week stumbles upon the witch's true name.
Yeah.
And what does that do?
Does our camper take that name then as like the last week of camp? Like,
right? Like, does the camper move on? Does the camper become embraced by the strangeness? Does the camper become the witch?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot there.
like, and then it would be up to us to try to save this camper, right?
Yeah.
Before this camper gets lost in like lost, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And we have to protect the other campers because, Toby's going to be following Muggle and James around.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Like, I got to keep everybody else safe. So, yeah, I think Hecate that week. Or, no, we don't know the name because they took the name. Faye took the name and we don't know it. We can't find Faye until we know their name. So it's like the worst Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's a whole like mystery, like maybe there's some there's something that this person stumbled upon.
Right.
I was like, oh, that sounds like a cool name. I think I'll take that one next.
Yeah, and because it's built on the fairies, like we have the Phae present, and they took their name.
We've got that weird don't go there place off the path.
Is that why? Is that why you don't go there? Like that's where you take names. Like that's like a renaming area.
Maybe.
Oh, it's so good. And there's all this.
Who knows?
Yeah. And like there's the strangeness too, like the Our Lady Oubliette who makes people forget things. Like
right.
Is the witch the witch an agent of the Our Lady Oubliette?
Well, we already know that, like, we don't know what happened last year.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's so good.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I really want a, like, scene later on in the game, or if this were, like, a campaign, right? Later on in the story of, like, all of the kids of the camp after they've gone through all their training, and they've been having fun LARPing, but now all the spooky stuff is happening. I would love to have a scene where like we're down and out as counselors, and then all of a sudden all the kids are like picking up their LARP weapons and like, no, we're standing with you. We're gonna fight this together. We're your army.
Toby, no.
Oberon's the one leading them.
Yeah.
Oh, like Oberon like broke out of their shell and they're the leader now. Like they took that role on.
Yeah. And I think it would be like because I know child endangerment's not a thing for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I think it would be like enough to drive away whatever spooky thing was happening at that point.
Yeah, like the kids stood up to it, and it gives us, like as counselors, like we've been beaten, like we've lost, like because like when the Lindworm acts, like you can lose parts of camp, and you lose like memories and items and everything, and NPCs, like maybe like our camp nurse has been hurt, and like they're not at camp anymore, and now like, but this is like this rallies us, and we're like, no, this is the campers remind us of what's vulnerable and why we're here.
Yeah.
Oh man. And we
so good.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to be terrible and say that like Baron is 100% would sacrifice themselves. Like that's like their strong move. Like they redirect the Lindworm's move to them.
No.
But first they would thank Margaret James for the help and kiss her.
Oh.
Yes.
And I think there would have to be something like holding Margaret James back, because I think her feelings for Baron are a lot deeper than she even tells herself.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh.
And then like,
I mean, we haven't even talked about like the birds in the forest,
right? Like how
and like all the omens of like these things coming up, and we would probably have both the murder of Chris and Our Lady Oubliette as our strangeness. Right.
I do like the thought of like birds that nest in the oldest tree of the forest become those that are tellers of lies.
And we go to the oldest tree in the forest. Like that's like a central spot. And they're tellers of lies. Like as in like they reveal the lies or they tell the lies. Oh, they'd have to reveal because the lake's the liar.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like, the birds like tell us when someone's lying.
Yeah.
And I do like the thought of when the lake is deceiving people actively, that either the bird songs change or they stop.
Oh.
Oh, dang.
It's all cries of gulls or like seabird.
Yeah.
Like
But
it's
I like the absence of bird sounds too is really creepy.
Oh, that is creepy. That's very good. Yeah. Like Baron spends all their days fighting the lake.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
This is too much.
There's a lot of good stuff to pull on.
Yeah.
But then we've got a lot of like creepy scenes and like heartbreaking scenes. Like there's got to be like some nice, like sweet, gentle scenes too, right?
Right. Well, like does soliloquy teach the kids magic? Like how does what are arts and crafts with soliloquy like? They've got to be amazing.
I mean, like, I think part of it obviously is like making the costumes and the props,
right?
You know, like because it is a LARP camp. But I also think, you know, there's some of that like craft worked in there, like she's talking about them about like symbolism in the things that you make, and you know, like if you are sewing this pattern into your clothes, you're decorating it with this, like. She's talking about it as like, oh, it symbolizes this or whatever, but really it's more of like, this would be an omen of.
Right.
You know, so it's not all because we don't talk about it.
Right.
We don't talk about the magic. So, yeah, I think she talks about it as like symbolizing different things, but it's really not like historic or literary or anything like that.
It's specific to the camp.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Oh, and there's definitely, because we have like the lake is horrible versus like the field, which is just happiness and relaxation and care. So I think there's got to be a specific camp game that gets played in the field, like some weird version of tag that only exists at camp.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's like a variation of the maypole dance, maybe. Like you have to run in a specific pattern.
Yeah. I like that.
I want a scene too, where we are at the stargazing hill with the campers, and it's right after we teach them about like constellations and using it for navigation and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like practical stuff that you're going to need if you're LARPing it at night and whatnot. And then things wind down and we just chill and Margaret James, plays some music.
Yeah.
Pulls out the guitar and sings a nice peaceful song.
Yeah.
Just sitting there under the stars.
Just like real calm and just lovely.
Yeah.
Like the kids are all cuddled up together. Oh, it's so good and peaceful.
Oh, yeah.
And like there's like when we can't hear Margaret James, we just hear the crickets.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I love it.
And the stars, we see the stars, which is our sign of the magic.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And so I think at that point too, like soliloquy is like pointing out constellations. They aren't really like star map constellations. They're, more meaningful.
Yeah. Like the omen constellations.
Right.
Yeah. Or it's like, we see this constellation, the star's in this position. It means this.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's so good. All right. And we're all getting prepared. Like, the meantime, we're still like creating items and like spells so we can protect the kids from the lindworm.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping the kids from knowing the lindworm beyond just like a scary story.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good.
Amazing. I think there's even more threads to pull on than that.
Oh my God.
But I think that's probably my goodness, a good place to settle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the fanfic. This game has a lot that you can do in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is what we're saying. Mm-hmm. And I am here for all of it.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. You know, like I
want to play this game.
Feelings. I have them.
It's so good for this. Oh,
The Ballad of Summer Court.
Oh, so good.
Seriously.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. We'll move on.
Move on.
Oh. Let's get into our advancement discussion in a segment that Ryan calls Take It Up a Level.
Take it up a level. Take it up a level.
In this segment, we talk about character advancement and character growth. How would a character level up, like, mechanically in this game? I haven't really seen much in here, but we obviously didn't dig into, like, all of the rules, so I don't know if there even is a way.
There's not really a way for, like, the characters to level up. I mean, you want to basically kind of get that stockpile of tokens so you can do strong moves.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what really happens is as you play, like the campground levels up in a way, because as you play, you know, we created that map and then we put in, like, we'd keep track of, like, motifs, like, oh, like the lunch hall, like the bug juice and food fights, you know, and you start building these motifs. And we, you know, like using the settings moves to create items and NPCs that will help us on the way. So you build all those up, and, like, you know, this crafter can do rituals to create spells. And then eventually, like, as we play the campaign, like, stuff ramps up and terrible things happen, and then in the final act we start fighting the Lindworm. And anytime we have invited the Lindworm to act, we have put one of its playing cards in that spot, and we have to give something up to say how we defeat the Lindworm, be it a spell or an item or an NPC or one of our characters, as we fight the Lindworm. So, like, yeah, so it's the leveling up is in the story itself, I would say, where it's just build up everything to fight the Lindworm. Because, yeah, the characters don't gain XP or anything. We just gain tokens and more heartbreak.
It's basically the story advances and the surroundings advance and more things get introduced, and I assume more complications can get introduced as well.
Yeah. The settings elements pull and push people together and all that. Yeah. We didn't even talk about, like, what the Lindworm does. Like the wolves and the bones do stuff. Like, they'll destroy stuff. They can destroy setting elements, and it gets intense. It's already intense, and it gets worse.
Yeah, exactly.
God. I keep saying that. I'm just like, I feel like that's half of the, like, when we do the transcripts for this podcast, it's just gonna be a lot of, like,
But that's the game. Like, I want that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, none of it is, like, bad. It's like, please give that to me. Please let me have it.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, is there anything else that we want to say about Sleepaway before we head out of this series?
I think go play it. It's a good game.
It's really good. It's really good from what I'm seeing.
Just create, you know what? Just create a character and then write stories.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these would be, like, great journal prompts.
Like, oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, like the way it's set up, like, you can do it, like, it's all card prompts, so it could be. Could solo play the game and hurt yourself real badly if you want to. If you like stuff like that. If you're
like me and like to just, like, yes.
Yeah, I would love, like, a full table of this, of all the counselors, and
you sit around and you put the strings together, and then it's like, and then the Lindworm comes and cuts some of them and all of that, and it's just so good. And then, like, and then there's, like, the rituals to take breaks where it's like, this game is intense. Let's go out and look at the stars, which we did. We had that in our fanfic, like, the star watching's a ritual.
Yeah.
You go out and you just in character and out of character and just
oh, that's so good.
There's so much to this game we didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, it's like it's basically the rituals feel like it throws a LARP component into it too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
How apropos.
Yeah, like, because I know there's a ritual you play as the campers.
Yeah.
Which is just so cool.
Amazing.
It's so good. This game's so much.
Yeah. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Sleepaway. This was so fun. It's been my pleasure and my heartbreak, and it's everything I wanted it. Like, I'm so glad to share everything it with you. Everything I dreamed of. Well, I'm glad that we could deliver. Can you remind everyone where they could find you online, what sorts of things you're working on?
Yeah, sure. I'm still on Twitter for now as Phaedra220 and on Tumblr. And if you love hearing my lovely voice and all the things I might want to kiss, listen to Misfits of Space. We have 2 series. The first one was a Star Wars game. And now we're doing a Scum and Villainy, where I am 100% playing a character that I am driving towards their own doom with a villain that my GM created, and it's wonderful.
No, you'll turn them.
Maybe.
You'll
Who
bring
knows?
them
We'll
back.
see. Yeah, it goes both
I'm
ways.
sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Just all these people I've been kissing, there's no repercussions from that. It'd be
No.
I
great.
don't see why there would be.
No. I hope, honestly, I, the player, hope so. But yeah, that's on Misfits of Space. I'm also occasionally on the Redacted Files podcast and on something completely different with my 2 kids as Jackson and Mama.
Wonderful.
Thank you again, Nicole, for sitting down with us to do this. It was a great time. And thank you to everyone for tuning in.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that. I love the way that our little camp turned out. I love our little campers.
They're so good.
I love how everything accidentally kept pointing back to that honesty component. I love my little song about crickets.
I know. I love that when we released the first episode and with zero context on why that song was there, people were like, I did not expect to hear El Grillo.
Yeah. The number of people that were like, El Grillo. And I was like, oh, you know the song? Like my one obscure Renaissance reference that like everybody's like, yeah, I know that one. And she's like,
amazing.
This is not the camp song I thought it would be.
No.
No,
it's
I
fine. No, it was a really good poll. I really liked the 2, and this was my first time hearing it, I think. Everything about the series I really enjoyed.
It just all like fell into place so nicely.
Yeah.
Like currently Cersei.
Yeah.
And then the potential like witch's hut and
Mhm.
it all
worked
it all
out really
came
well.
together perfectly. I don't think there was anything in there that we're like, we never came back to this. We never linked this to anything.
Yeah. And Nicole had messaged me. She was on her way home from something and had to stop for a possum crossing the road. And not 30 seconds later, a possum crossed the road in the game. Like she was saying, this is one of the portents. This is one of the bad things that can happen is seeing a possum that should have been dead get up and start walking away. And it's like, what a wild coincidence.
I mean, yes, but also possums do get up and walk away a lot.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this was a possum skeleton. Also, did you check on Nicole this morning and make sure she's okay?
I
After
didn't.
her possum portent?
Although she did follow me on Tumblr, so
Okay.
I assume that
Okay,
everything's
good.
fine enough.
Phew.
Yep, it's okay.
Gotta watch out for those possum portents.
I know. Before we let you go for the day, if you haven't checked out the Starwhal Odyssey of the Lucky Finn episode on the One Shot Podcast public feed, or any of the other ones in the secret archive over on the One Shot Podcast Network, absolutely check that out soon. There's so much more coming right at the beginning of the campaign. And I'm working on the next few episodes in the next couple of weeks, and it's just so good so far. I'm really thrilled about this. You got James Maldonado as well as Ali Grower and Drew Merzieski, just superstars in this campaign. Still jealous about
Two
Amelia's
absolute
game.
power couples.
Seriously. You got some amazing TTRPG power couples just playing a fun campaign with a new system that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. So really excited for that reveal to happen. The next couple of episodes don't have the best audio quality due to a hardware issue in recording, but after that, it should be pretty smooth sailing. So I'm excited to get to those episodes. You can find all of this and more on the One Shot Patreon, linked in the show notes.
I am getting ready to make my annual holiday cards, and I'm going to need to know how many to make.
Yeah.
If you would like one, you can fill out the Google form, which we'll have a link to in our show notes. Otherwise, I know I've posted it on Twitter and in our Discord and, I don't know, various places, wherever they'll let me put a link, honestly. I haven't quite decided what they're going to look like yet, but every year I hand make my cards. They're all like personally written notes, and they've turned out really nice the last couple of years, so I'm excited to do it again, and I would love the opportunity to send out more of them.
I was thrilled to get mine last year, so
yeah, they did last year. I loved last year's.
It was the flamingo, right? Yeah,
little flamingos on it. It said warmest wishes. Had a little pineapple washi tape. Yeah, it was very cute. Good. So you can fill out the form in our show notes or around. Like I said, give me your info and I'll send you a card.
There you go. We would like to start sending out a monthly newsletter as well. And we'd love to know what kinds of things that we should be putting in there. Our goal is to talk a little bit more about our thoughts on the month's game, maybe some links to similar games or media in that genre, recommendations of things we're into right now, a rundown of what was posted on our Patreon, and a few other things. We would absolutely love to hear what you think we should add in there. And what other stuff do you want to know our thoughts on? I think this will be a nice little place.
If you've ever been, sitting at home thinking, gosh, I really wonder what Amelia and Ryan think about this. Now's your chance to let us know what that thing is, and we can use our newsletter space to let you know.
Yeah, we'll have a nice little fun little section of the newsletter to have our thoughts about chocolate sauce or who knows what else.
We could just do like a little debate section of like we each take a side on something, and can do fire versus water, or
there you go,
Coke versus Pepsi, or
man.
We can each take a point and see where that goes. This is your weekly reminder that we still have a Patreon.
Still there.
It's still there. Now is a great time to check it out. We know that money can be a bit tight, especially around this time of year, for sure. But we've been doing a little extra lately for all our patrons to kind of make sure you're getting your money's worth, even at the $1 level. So for just $1 a month, you get access to all of the bonus outtakes, as well as a special chit-chat episode of Ryan and I just chatting about life. It's the stuff we sit down and talk about before we actually come record it, our scripted stuff. There are no bullet points for that one.
No.
Goes wherever we feel like. It's a great way to get to know us better. You'll be getting those practically every week. At the $5 level and higher, we'll be giving everyone an ad-free feed, early release episodes, and bonus episodes where we learn about other games. It's usually micro games right now, through the lens of character creation and sometimes actual play. If you join us at the $10 level, you also get to join us for monthly Zoom hangouts, which right now we're doing a little bit more frequently to make up for the fact that most of the summer we weren't able to do them. So, if you join now, free bonus hangouts. You can check all of that out at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. And once you do, we can thank you personally, like we are going to do right now for Lieutenant. We appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
We also appreciate your support, David, a.k.a. Tigranosaurus. Thank you.
Eric Bonds, thank you so much.
Matt Newton, thank you so much.
Shadim Cabal, we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Daryl Holiday II, thank you for your support as well.
The Shyest Barbarian, thank you for your continued support and for our lovely Zoom hangouts.
And the unhinged patron chat channel that happens in the Discord.
Yeah. Thanks for being you.
Benjamin Sweeney, thank you for your continued support as well.
Lurkin McGinnis, we are so happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Rob Fletcher, many thanks to you.
Kevin Brown, thank you for all of your support.
And Tentacle Duck, we appreciate your support as always. Thank you.
And also your name.
Yep.
Someone has to say it every time. Thank you to all of you and to all of our future patrons. Your assistance is really making a difference. Ryan was able to get a brand new microphone that he won't shut up about because of your contributions. You can all decide whether that was worth your money or not. I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody from following our Patreon, but also don't get Ryan any more techie stuff. Just don't.
It's too late.
But also it does help us keep the show going, so we do really appreciate it.
It's true. Finally, if you aren't able to support the show financially, there is an easy way to help us out that doesn't cost anything but your time, and that's to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or Podcast Addict. Or if you can leave a rating on Spotify, that also helps. Especially if you want to get a nice little gift for Amelia for her birthday, which is tomorrow.
Yay, tomorrow.
Happy early birthday, Amelia.
Thank you. And yes, I would really love reviews for my birthday, please.
Yes, I would love reviews for your birthday as well.
I would love reviews for your birthday.
Aww.
Aw, friends forever. That's it for this series, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. For those of you in the United States, we hope you have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, take some relaxing breaths to loosen up those shoulders, drink some water, eat some turkey, take a nap, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can be found on Twitter at CreationCast or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Amelia Antrim, and I can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning, or on my other podcast, Garbage of the Five Rings. Our other host, Ryan Bolter, can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast it originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by the absolutely fantastic Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game system used in today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, extra outtakes, and much, much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time. I nailed it.
Me too.
I think I might be slightly tiny off because Chromebook.
How you looking over there?
I see waveforms, and they are nice and as big as my waveforms ever get, because apparently I have a very quiet voice.
All right. Sorry, I have to yawn. Oh, I can't stop today.
You need more Dr. Pepper.
I only have one left.
No.
It's an emergency.
And I'm saving it for tomorrow.
Dr. P emergency.
Because I'm going to need it for a Monday, you know?
Yeah. You go to the pick and save and get 3 cases for sale.
Yeah, get 18,000 cans for $2. No, I'm just kidding.
It's only $12. All right.
Okay.
We can hit stop on this recording here.
Okay.
And this is the stop button.
There's the stop button.
Woo!
There we go.
Right.
Clicky.
I feel like I need to adjust
Waves are waving.
Yeah. I see them. My tiny little waves.
Little
Tiny
waves.
little waveforms.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, like lost our spot. I was listening too much.
All right.
We did it.
We did it. We can
Yay.
hit stop on this one too.
Okay.